Imagine you are standing at a literal crossroads in a dense forest, right?
Okay, I'm picturing it.
And you turn to this wise ancient guru and you ask which way to go. He looks you dead in the eye and says, "Go left." Left is the only way to find true happiness.
Seems pretty straightforward.
Right, but before you can even take a single step, another guru, who is, equally wise, steps out from the trees and says, "Absolutely not, you must go right. If you don't go right, your whole life is a complete waste."
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is, it's completely paralyzing.
Exactly.
Because we constantly crave certainty in life, But
Yeah.
we are just constantly bombarded with these absolute foolproof answers that somehow manage to completely contradict each other.
And that psychological whiplash, that total contradiction is exactly what we are unpacking today as we look at some excerpts from this really fascinating book. It's called How to Live by Derek Sivers.
Yeah, and the premise here is just completely counterintuitive.
It really is. Instead of offering one unified theory on life's biggest question, this source material offers wildly conflicting absolute philosophies on how to live. And it presents every single one of them as the only correct way.
Right. It functions as this incredible thought experiment. A specific lifestyle is argued for passionately, like a totally watertight case is built for it. And then
in the very next breath.
Yeah, exactly. In the very next breath, that case is completely dismantled, but a brilliant argument for its exact opposite.
It's wild. So our mission for this deep dive is to shortcut you, the listener, through these radical, contradictory philosophies. We want to extract the most surprising aha moments without you feeling like you're just drowning in information overload.
Yeah, because it can be a lot.
So, okay, let's unpack this. Where do we even begin when the material refuses to pick a lane?
Well, we begin by changing how we approach the information itself. So the goal today isn't for you to walk away having chosen just one of these paths. Instead, you should think of these extremes as a mirror for your own life. By exploring the absolute fringes of human experience, all those invisible assumptions driving your current choices, they suddenly become, highly visible.
Using the extremes as a mirror. I actually really like that. So let's start with what we might call the freedom paradox.
Okay.
This first set of ideas explores how we relate to society and place, and it swings from total isolation to total immersion. So the first extreme philosophy is simply be independent.
Yeah, and the blunt argument here is that literally all human misery stems directly from dependency.
All of it.
All of it. If we look at the psychological mechanism, the idea is that most of our daily friction is interpersonal. Whenever you rely on a system or another person, you are, in effect, outsourcing your well-being.
You're handing over control.
Exactly. So the prescription is radical emotional and physical self-containment. And it gets incredibly specific, too.
Yeah, like what?
Well, for one, you shouldn't depend on big tech. You should use only open source software so no corporation controls your data.
Wow.
Be a nomadic minimalist. Or, live completely off the grid, generating your own electricity. And socially, the advice is to keep even your closest friends at arm's length.
That sounds, it even argues that nothing is more lonely than being with the wrong person, so it's always safer to just be alone.
Right.
But I have to push back on this independent idea, because if I try to visualize this, it doesn't actually feel like freedom to me.
No.
No, it feels like a submarine running silent in hostile waters.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Right. You have to constantly monitor the sonar. You're hypervigilant, making sure you don't accidentally dock or connect with any other vessels. Isn't that extreme independence just like another form of being trapped?
How do you mean?
Because if your whole life revolves around actively avoiding people and commitments, you're still letting society dictate your choices, just in reverse. You're like a tumbleweed, just blowing away from everything.
What's fascinating here is that you've hit on the exact invisible thread connecting these opposing lifestyles. Yeah, because being that submarine, it requires an exhausting amount of energy to maintain, which is why the very next philosophy offers the exact opposite solution, which is commit.
Commit. So planting the big oak tree.
Exactly. The argument here is that keeping your options open is actually what is making you miserable.
Oh, the paradox of choice.
Right. There is this terrible psychological weight to constantly seeking the quote-unquote best option.
And the linguistic breakdown of this in the text is amazing. The English word decide, it actually derives from a Latin root meaning to cut off.
Yes.
So when you make a decision, you are literally cutting off all other timelines. By choosing one thing, you sacrifice everything else. And that sacrifice is what gives your remaining choice its profound power.
Precisely. So the mandate is to make totally irreversible choices. Find a single place, buy a home, and swear to stay there forever.
Forever.
Marry someone you don't want to change, who doesn't want to change you, and just commit completely. You end the agonizing search.
Wow. But, just when you think the only two options are either living off-grid in a cabin or buying a house in the suburbs and throwing away the key, a third path emerges.
Right, the third way.
Intertwine with the world. This is the philosophy of the true global citizen. The mission here is to spread your literal and metaphorical DNA, your ideas, your cultural values, just worldwide.
It advocates for continuous deliberate adaptation. It says, move somewhere far away, drop all your cultural baggage, and actually adopt the local psychological mindset.
Yeah, so you learn how to live entirely in the present moment from the culture in Brazil.
Right.
You learn rigorous rationality from Germany, and you learn deep communal consideration from Japan. There's this brilliant linguistic note here, too, in Icelandic.
Oh, yeah, the word for idiot.
Yes. In Icelandic, the word for idiot translates to someone who has never left their home to journey abroad.
It's so telling, isn't it? But think about the psychological weight of that lifestyle, too. You're constantly absorbing new worldviews, which means you never have a static baseline.
You're perpetually a student of reality.
Exactly. Which forces us to analyze the emotional outcome these three paths are actually chasing. When we look at the extreme independent, the extreme committer, and the global citizen, they are all seeking liberation from the anxiety of other people's expectations.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The nomad escapes by never being known. The committer escapes by making an irreversible choice, which ends the pressure to upgrade. And the global citizen escapes by realizing every culture's rules are just made up anyway.
They all find peace.
Right, they just use entirely opposite mechanisms to get there.
They are running toward the exact same feeling from opposite ends of the earth. That is wild.
It is.
So let's shift from where we root ourselves to how we actually spend our daily energy. Because there is this intense friction between experiencing everything the world has to offer versus creating one single masterpiece.
Right, consumption versus creation.
Exactly. So let's look at the philosophy to fill your senses. The mandate here is breathless. It's just nothing twice.
Nothing twice.
The underlying mechanism is about maximizing dopamine and sensory input to avoid any form of stagnation. Never eat the same food twice, never go down the same road, never hear the same song twice.
It basically tells you to be utterly insatiable.
Yeah.
There's even career advice tailored to this. It says get a job in sales, not for the money, but because you're always on the road, you're always talking to strangers, and someone else is funding your constant travel.
And doesn't it suggest changing your entire wardrobe every single month to match a different country's style?
Yeah, it really does. It is the ultimate maximization of inputs.
Right.
But, as always, the counter-argument is equally compelling. The next philosophy is master something. This path demands that you become a monomaniac.
Monomaniac, I love that word.
Right. You pick one terrifying or fascinating pursuit, and you relentlessly abandon absolutely everything else in your life to chase it.
So drama is viewed as like a toxic distraction. Your personal life should be utterly intentionally boring so your professional life can be extraordinary.
And it advises moving to the most ambitious, high-pressure place in your field, so Silicon Valley for tech, or Hollywood for film, and just letting that environmental pressure forge you.
Trial by fire.
Exactly. And to explain the mechanism of this kind of mastery, think about human endurance, whether physical or cognitive.
Right.
If someone asked you to do push-ups right now, you might hit, 20 or 30 before muscle failure?
Yeah, probably.
But what if you did a set and then took a 10-minute break and then did another set and just continued that pattern all day?
Oh, I mean, I could probably do hundreds over the course of the day.
Right. That is the secret to monomania. It's about the neuroscience of sustained attention and micro-recoveries.
Oh, okay.
By taking strategic cognitive breaks, you allow the brain to consolidate learning without hitting burnout. You concentrate all your life force over decades, kind of like a magnifying glass focusing sunlight to start a fire. Most people burn out because they don't know how to pace their exact...
So, what does this all mean? When I try to visualize these two lives, fill your senses, feels like sitting down to a massive, chaotic pasting menu.
Right, yeah.
Where you only get one tiny bite of 10,000 different dishes. It's overwhelming, it's colorful, you never get bored. But mastery is dedicating 50 years of your life to making the single, most perfect bowl of plain white rice.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what both of these paths demand is complete unapologetic rejection of a normal, well-balanced life. Think about your own life for a second, or even just your internet browser right now. How many tabs do you have open?
Too many.
Right. How many different hobbies or side hustles are you juggling just to feel well-rounded? These philosophies suggest that society's guidelines the idea of a balanced life, working 9 to 5, maintaining moderate hobbies, that's actually just a safety net for the lost.
Balance is a sign of being lost. That's things a little, to be honest.
It does.
But it makes sense. However, there's a fatal flaw in both of those approaches. Whether you are consuming every experience on Earth or ignoring the Earth to master one skill, you are entirely trapped in the present moment.
Yes.
Which forces us to ask, how do these extreme lifestyles handle the passing of time? That brings us to our third segment, starting with the philosophy to make memories.
This one directly addresses a universal human anxiety. Why does time seem to accelerate as we age?
It really does.
And the cognitive mechanism behind this is fascinating. Time warping happens because of monotony.
Okay, how so?
Well, the brain groups repetitive events into a single file just to save energy.
Right.
If you drive the same commute every day for 10 years, your brain doesn't record 3,650 unique memories.
Right.
It records one generic memory of the commute.
Wow. So if you can't remember a month, it's literally as if it never happened. You could live to be 100, but if your days aren't memorable, your psychological life is incredibly short.
Exactly. The brain literally stops recording on autopilot. So the solution is to force encoding through novelty. Novelty requires high cognitive engagement. You have to pursue new things to anchor your memory, journaling and documenting constantly.
Yeah.
And there is a beautiful framing of nostalgia here, defining it simply as memories minus the pain.
I want to pause on that, actually, because there is a wild detail in the source text about how to handle those painful memories.
Oh, the summarization technique.
Yes. The advice is to take a traumatic event, summarize it into a tiny 1-minute story, and just rehearse it until you strip it of its power. You actively rewrite your own past to disempower trauma.
Yeah.
And I have to ask, is that a brilliant piece of emotional hacking, or is it just dangerous self-delusion?
Well, that is the crux of modern memory research. From a neuroscientific perspective, memory isn't a factual video recording sitting on a hard drive. Memory is a process of reconsolidation. Every time you recall an event, you pull it out of storage, your current mood and environment color it, and then you save this new, slightly altered version back into your brain.
It's basically a game of telephone with yourself.
It really is. It is a narrative.
Yeah.
And since it is already a subjective, malleable narrative, you might as well be the author.
Wow.
By shrinking a massive, unmanageable monster of a memory into a 1-minute story, you take away its emotional leverage. You stop letting the past dictate your future trajectory.
Radical ownership of your own mental hard drive. I love that. But if obsessing over the past isn't your style, we swing to the ultimate forward-thinking philosophy, which is think super long-term.
Right.
Basically, forget your past. Focus entirely on your descendants.
The historical anchor for this is really interesting. It's Benjamin Franklin.
Okay.
In 1790, he placed 2,000 pounds into a 200-year trust for the cities of Boston and Philadelphia.
A 200-year trust.
Yeah. And by 1990, the magic of compound interest had turned that initial deposit into over $7 million.
That is unbelievable.
So the philosophy argues we should structure our entire lives with that level of foresight.
It even suggests using an age progression filter on your phone. Like, you take a photo of yourself, age at 30 years, and look at that elderly face every day just to bridge the empathy gap we naturally have for our future selves.
Yeah, that visual reminder is powerful.
It even advises securing citizenship in places like Canada or New Zealand for your unborn grandchildren, specifically to insulate them from climate change.
But consider the sheer psychological weight of that horizon.
Right.
You are actively sacrificing the pleasure of your present moment for people you will never even meet. It is the ultimate act of delayed gratification, but it risks rendering your own immediate existence completely transactional.
Which brings us to a pretty harsh reality. Whether you are building a 200-year legacy for your unborn grandkids or rewriting your past traumas, you still have to deal with the messy reality of today.
Yeah, you do.
Things will go wrong. So how do we handle life's inevitable daily friction? Let's dive into the final section, the chaos protocols.
The first protocol is perhaps the most difficult for the modern hyper-connected mind, and it is do nothing.
Do nothing.
Think about how much trouble we cause ourselves simply by reacting to things.
Yeah.
The argument here is that action is almost always optional. And there's a fantastic metaphor for this. Shallow rivers are incredibly noisy, but deep lakes are silent.
Be a deep lake. I like that. It applies this to finances too. Just be an index fund investor, which takes like 1 hour of work a month. Let the market do the work. It demands that you let go of the ego-driven feeling of being indispensable. The world will absolutely go on without you.
It's very humbling.
Ah.
But if doing nothing feels too passive, the next philosophy swings into truly bizarre territory.
Yes. Let randomness rule. This one fundamentally broke my brain.
It's out there.
It advocates using a random generator to make your life decisions. Rolling a pair of dice, drawing cards, using an app to decide where you eat, what project you take on, or even where you live next year.
And the rationale behind this is deeply provocative because it targets our illusion of causality.
What do you mean?
Well, we like to think we are the rational architects of our lives, right? But this philosophy argues life is already random. We just invent neat little stories afterward to make it feel organized.
Oh, like hindsight bias.
Exactly. It brings up how identical twins separated at birth often share freakishly similar preferences, from the names of their pets to the cars they drive. It suggests our quote-unquote free will might just be genetic determinism.
And look at how accurately algorithms can predict our purchasing behavior or, our political leanings. We are vastly less random than we think we are.
Right.
So by actively injecting a dice roll into your life, you scramble your predictable habits, you shatter the myth that you have this master plan.
Exactly.
But here's where it gets really interesting to me. If you look at using dice to make decisions, it feels like the ultimate modern form of stoicism.
Oh, that's an interesting connection.
Right. Stoicism being the ancient practice of completely detaching your emotions from the things you cannot control. By using a randomizer, you are literally outsourcing your anxiety, your decision fatigue, and your fear of making the wrong choice to a little piece of plastic.
The dice decided, so you don't have to stress.
Exactly.
Which perfectly sets up the final and probably most brutal option. Pursue pain.
Pursue pain.
This is the philosophy of actively seeking friction. The core belief is that comfort is a silent killer. It is quicksand. The softer the chair, the harder it is to stand up.
Yeah.
It argues you should never wish for good luck because good luck breeds complacency.
It says you should practice thriving with bad luck. It suggests engaging in rejection therapy, where you purposefully make these audacious requests to strangers just so they will tell you no.
And the mechanism there is desensitization. You are exposing your nervous system to perceived social threat until the brain realizes the threat isn't actually lethal.
Treat pain like a wild horse, right? Don't get a shield to protect yourself from it. Get a saddle and learn how to ride it.
This raises an important question for all of us. Why do we cling so tightly to the illusion of control? What you identified with stoicism and the dice, and what we see in pursuing pain, is the core mechanism of resilience. It's what biologists call hormesis.
Hormesis.
Yeah, a little bit of stress makes the organism stronger. Embracing total randomness and voluntarily pursuing pain both yield the exact same biological and psychological result.
Oh, I see.
They force you to practice reacting to chaos. When you roll the dice, or when you actively seek a painful workout or a brutal social rejection, you are teaching your nervous system that you can survive severe discomfort. You transition from being a fragile victim of circumstance to being deeply adaptable.
So meaning isn't found in controlling the outcome. It's found entirely in how you respond to whatever happens.
Exactly.
You are building an emotional immune system. You expose yourself to a controlled dose of the virus, the randomness, the pain, the rejection, so that when real tragedy actually hits you, you already have the antibodies ready to go. You aren't fragile anymore.
Beautifully said.
Well, we have covered immense ground today. We've explored 10 radical, completely contradictory frameworks for living from Derek Sivers' text.
We really have.
Be entirely independent or commit forever. Experience every sensation once or master just one tiny thing. Warp time by making memories, or sacrifice today to plan 200 years ahead. Do absolutely nothing, let a dice roll dictate your fate, or just run straight into the fire of pain.
Yeah, and obviously, these cannot all be executed at once.
No, definitely not. You can't be a nomadic global citizen who never leaves their hometown, but they are all valid lenses through which to view your own choices. So, turning to you, the listener, what stands out to you?
Yeah, what caught your attention?
As we debated these mechanisms, which of these philosophies made you nod your head in agreement? And maybe more importantly, which one made you physically squirm? Because usually the concept that makes us the most uncomfortable is a giant neon arrow pointing directly at a blind spot in our own lives.
Which leads to a vital final thought. What if the absolute worst advice you could ever receive is to live a balanced life?
Oof,
That's a heavy one.
When we look at the psychological mechanisms behind all these lifestyles, true fulfillment seems to only exist at the very edges of extremes. The middle ground, the balanced life, might just be a socially acceptable recipe for mediocrity and regret.
Wow.
So, evaluate the way you are living right now. If you were forced to switch to the exact opposite of your current life philosophy today, what would that look like? And what secret, suppressed desire might that opposite life suddenly reveal about you?
That is a question that is going to keep me up tonight for sure. Are you running silent like a submarine, or are you laying down ancient roots? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. And remember, the next time you find yourself at a crossroads and one person tells you to go left and the other tells you to go right, maybe just pull out a pair of dice. We'll catch you on the next one.